My background is, long story short, is, I was climbing the corporate ladder for my entire career. My background is in project, program, and portfolio management, specifically in the big tech space. And many years ago, I think it was 2018, I wanted to go deeper on my spiritual path. I decided to do a 400-hour meditation teacher training and had an amazing experience. But at the end of it, I realized I didn't want to be a meditation teacher myself, but I loved working with people in the space. Through my class, I met lots of amazing women and men who were teachers, they were sound healers, they were astrologers, and I started sharing my perspectives on business and how to launch their business, grow their business, their websites, content. And I realized that's really where I had the most joy is kind of bridging the two worlds of like business and strategy and, spiritual and wellness, folks who were out here trying to make an impact on other people's lives. So that's what I do today. Outside of my day job, I love helping spiritual and wellness entrepreneurs, um, you know, come up with new offer ideas that are really unique to their way of showing up in the world. We talk a lot about there's a really saturated market in the meditation and wellness space, but that doesn't mean more and more people shouldn't continue to join, right? And to share their gifts. It's really about really sharing what makes you unique and how you connect with other people. So that's one of the things I love to do. And I host a free community where we can get together. I offer free guidance. I love doing that. And yeah, we're going to be doing a workshop here soon. So that's how I like to serve.
And I love your story in the sense for everyone listening of finding your own path with this and taking the step that's calling, taking the next right step, which for you was this training and realizing, okay, well, this led me to actually realizing how much I love supporting other meditation teachers. And I learned that I don't want to be a meditation teacher. So the path gets made by walking it. And you're an example of really starting to hone in on where you come alive most and how you can most serve. And the topic that I know we're going to talk about today and something that you really love and care about, which, and I appreciate that you do because you've been a great guide and inspiration for me to look at AI and to play with it and to let myself play with it because I think I can speak for probably some people listening here, especially you get into the meditation and spiritual world, and a big intention is to be authentic, to be our authentic selves. And when we think of artificial intelligence, there's that word artificial in some ways is an opposite of authentic. It could be feel aversive. Like it can be like, no, that's not, well, I'm not being authentic anymore. So yeah, I'm excited to explore that with you today. And maybe that's just a good place to start. If someone's listening with that idea or that feeling around it, how do you typically invite in the concept of AI and how it could be useful and how they can authentically use it in their own way?
Yeah, that's a great place to start. I think a lot of the fear or uncertainty around AI comes from this idea that it's designed or created to replace us, right? I think we've all seen movies and read some sci-fi books, maybe television shows that depict these machines kind of taking over, replacing us in the case of like relationships, right? There's so many dystopian scenarios around AI. It can feel pretty scary. And at this kind of bleeding edge of this technology that's relatively new for us. And machine learning has been around for a long time, but like the way that consumers are using AI is relatively new ever since ChatGPT came out a couple years ago. And so I think we're all still feeling our way through this through this period. But the way that I like to think about it is instead of a replacement, right? You can think about ways that AI could replace us in certain aspects of our lives, and maybe we want them to. Like, I would love a machine to come and fold my laundry because with two kids now, there's tons of laundry. I would give like a lot of money to pay, to have that done. But I don't want AI to make art for me. I don't want AI to have conversations for me. I don't want AI to replace me in lots of other ways. So when we think about that, it's like maybe it can replace the things that we don't like doing so that we can show up in the areas of our life that actually bring us a lot of joy and fulfillment. So in terms of entrepreneurship, instead of thinking of AI as I'm going to have it do all of my work for me, it's what are the parts of your business that you don't actually enjoy doing? What components of that could you offload so that you can spend more time in your zone of genius, right? So if you're a meditation teacher and your gift is really holding space in a room of, participants, facilitating the meditation and maybe the conversation afterwards, are there parts of your business like, coming up with ideas for Instagram content or giving you like a outline for your next email newsletter or coming up with if you're running paid ads, like can AI support you in some of those areas that you're like, I don't want to do them, but you feel like you maybe need to do them? Have AI take those tasks on so that you can focus on bringing your energy into that space, right? Showing up in person or hosting like a Zoom class or coming up with new ideas. And, I use AI a lot for brainstorming ideas. And what I like that it does is it connects dots that maybe I wouldn't have thought to put together. And so, in the case of, lose a meditation teacher who's, human design is this, and maybe Lou, you love being outdoors. It's like, have AI come up with like all sorts of offer ideas of like how you can be a meditation teacher that meets your human design. You get to be outdoors more. And, maybe 9 out of 10 of those ideas are not that great, but maybe one of them is like, oh, I didn't think of that, right? We can use AI in those types of ways that can spark new ideas or new ways for us to show up in our zone of genius and offload the stuff that we really don't need to spend hours on. Like if you're spending 2 hours writing your email newsletter, maybe you could do it in 15 minutes by giving it a bunch of notes that you want to share with your audience, and then spend the other hour and a half, like, recording a new meditation or, um, I don't know, creating art or centering yourself so that when you show up to your next class, you're an even better version of yourself. You didn't just go, come off of doing all this work. So that's how I like to think of AI is not as a replacement, but as an enhancer, as um, like a delegate, right? And in some cases, like a thought partner, where a lot of people in this space are solopreneurs, right? They're doing a lot of this by themselves. They don't have someone to bounce ideas off of. AI, ChatGPT, Claude, they can serve that role as well.
I think the fear that I've had or have, and I know some other people have voiced this too, is that the genericy, like everything, like if everything just becoming generic, like if everyone's using AI for their newsletters, like it's all like there's a tone or a quality, like will we just are we just gonna be um I'm losing the word, but kind of in a dream of this just generic milieu that's out there because everyone just having, hey, AI, write me a newsletter about self-love today. And it's
Mhm.
like, well, that's, similar. And I know like the unique prompt, the prompting's where it's at, like really learning how to prompt it and give it feedback. And so I think there's like, well, in order to make it unique, it's like you become a good prompter rather than a good writer. And would we lose those skills? Like I consider myself a writer, and sometimes when I write something and then I will, and I've been doing this more recently a little bit because I want to test. I'm trying to experiment and understand what do I like, what do I not like, and I notice, okay, well, write, put it into ChatGPT and say, how can you end this a little better for me, or how can you I can't figure out a way to end this thing, like what would you come up with, or hey, is what's this like how would you edit this version, and it's good, like often it's good, like often it's doing it really well, but and like am I supposed to be learning how to like do this and edit it, like is it not, is it sounding less like my voice than it would have otherwise? So these are like the fears that I have, and then just in a more meta existential way, like do you think everyone's going to be not like less good, right, like in a very like 10, 20 years on a not just spiritual wellness people, but like do you think the world is going to be not as skilled at writing or doing certain things, like outsourcing so much of things that used to take energy and processing and learning, like where I didn't mean to get super existential right away, but how do you think of that in more of a 10, 20, 30, 40 years view of it?
Yeah, so I would first start by saying that the way we each use AI can be on a spectrum. There are those of us who really enjoy the practice of writing and we like using words as a form of art, right? So I love reading your newsletters. Like you're a great storyteller. You should continue to do that. There are other people, other meditation teachers, that's just not their jam. They don't see themselves as like writers. Maybe they're great at putting together an impromptu, like they show up in class and they can lead a meditation and it's just flowing through them, right? But they sit down at the keyboard to try to write something and it's just not, it's like they don't, that's not their mode of communication, right? Typing out a newsletter. In that case, you might use AI just to make those small refinements, just like the examples that you gave. Can you replace this phrase, or how could I end this better? Give me 10 subject lines, right? For this email that I've already written, all the way to, I know what I kind of want to say, but I don't know how to write it in a way that like flows well. Like AI can do more of the heavy lifting for you, and there's everything in between, right? So I would think of it like it's going to be a spectrum. Everyone's going to be somewhere different on that spectrum, and just find what's comfortable for you, because just because like there's so many amazing teachers and healers and guides that just when they try to write it down, they're just not showing up the same way, right? It doesn't convert for them. It something is missing. So they can use AI to help with that. The second thing I would say is that every single New York Times bestselling author has an editor. Nobody is writing and publishing their first draft. These, highly acclaimed authors, they're doing multiple revisions and they are not doing their own revisions. They have somebody else coming in, giving them feedback, but ultimately the book or the essay or the poems, those are in their voice, but they still have an editor helping to do that refinement. So when you think about using AI as like an editor, maybe you do the first pass of an email or an Instagram post or something, and you use AI as an editor, and you can train AI on your voice. I've done that, right? I've uploaded like 20 something blog posts to Claude, and I've said, Claude has something where it will detect a style. So you can upload a bunch of examples of your work. It will summarize your style, and then it will try to write in a similar fashion. Is it perfect? No, but it's pretty close. And then I can make adjustments. And you can give it a certain lens, right? So maybe, Lou, you're fantastic at writing newsletters, and maybe you're great at writing meditation scripts, but maybe sales pages aren't your jam. Maybe that's where you could use a little bit of help. And so when you ask AI to function as an expert marketer in your voice, right, then it can give you a first pass at a sales page for a new offer that you have, that sounds very close to what you might sound like, but you wouldn't have known how to structure it in that way, right? And so then you can go in and make refinements. It's much easier for you, probably to look at something and say, oh, okay, now that I know what it's supposed to look like, I can go in and make it sound a little bit more, close to what I want it to say. Whereas, unless there's lots of meditation teachers out there who are also expert marketers, I think like there's lots of use cases where it can be that editor for us and that, refiner, if you will. And then, the genericism, making sure that all this, if everyone's using AI, how are we going to get our unique personalities and voices and experiences out there? Like AI is not going to replace this because it doesn't have our lived experience, right? AI doesn't have your stories. It doesn't have your evening, conversation with your wife like stored. You are bringing that into all of your work. And so as long as you're providing that as input, whether it's a prompt or it's a sample of your work, or what I've been playing around with is just doing like bullet point notes and then dropping that into AI and say, here's what I want to talk about. So like I'm able to do it more like, I want to talk about this, I want to mention that. Here's a story I want to include. Like, let's see what it does with that. Um, you know, Help me put all that together in a cohesive, way that like flows. Maybe it would restructure the order, maybe, and so but it's all my input. It's my stories. It's what I want it to say. And it's behaving in ways that like I'm telling it to behave. I think if we're all the ones providing the inputs, and this could be completely naive, and this is maybe based on, hey, it's February 2025. In 1 year, this could be totally different. But I feel like it's still us guiding the AI. And so as long as what you're putting in is true to you, is unique, it's authentic, and it's not generic stuff, then you're not going to get generic stuff out, right? It's that whole trash in, trash out. I don't know if I'm saying that's the right phrase, but like what you put into it is going to have a huge effect on what comes out. And so if you put generic prompts in there, like write me a meditation script on self-love, yeah, you're going to get something generic. But if you say, right, I want to write a meditation script on self-love and I want to incorporate this thing that I recently worked through myself, and you write that story and you give it that to AI, it's going to be something like no one's ever seen before, right? Because it's your story that you've incorporated. So that's how I think about it.
think that's a good litmus test of like the energy and how you're putting into it. I think I'm noticing myself on my consumption of YouTube if I'm listening to like music or like background music for working or whatnot. I'm super averse if the YouTube channel started in the last year or two and they use nothing but AI thumbnails because I can, and they're pumping out content because like the, again, the like, okay, they're just pumping a machine like that, you can do this so much faster and you can get traction, and I'm like, no, no, I don't want the AI made thing for whatever reason. I know someone did 7 years ago, they put probably way more heart into creating a hour long piano sequence or whatnot that this AI is doing. And so I'm just noticing just my own aversion to like, I don't want to listen to the YouTube channel that's, I could tell is just really using AI in all aspects of it. And so that might be my own thing. Like, is there a quality piece to it? It's like how to sense the quality. And I think that's, I guess, again, a fear that I have of how do we know if it all feels like AI is making it? Again, it is the aspect of like what we're putting in and taking the energy and care to do that in an aligned way. But there is also a lot of, I mean, it'll also be said with audio, with books nowadays, and how much Amazon has been flooded with just AI written content to try and build people's, just make money off of Kindle books or whatever, like on the back end. That's grown immensely, and so there's more flooding with everything, which sometimes makes it harder to stand out, makes it harder to find your people because people are able to output so much more content. But I think there's a way to find it for you in a way that feels aligned and authentic. I'm curious, Benny, why do you care so much about AI? Like, why is this is definitely like a thing that you're passionate about, and I don't know if there's any background to it or if you're just like, wow, this is just a cool thing that you're just interested in.
Yeah, so first of all, I'm an Aquarius. So Aquarians are known for being very into technology and kind of futuristic thinking. I did that Strengths Finder thing many years ago. I looked at it again last year, and futuristic kind of forward thinking was on one of my strengths. So I am really fascinated about where our world is going. I'm fascinated about thinking, what will my sons' lives be like when they get older? I mean, AI is just at the very beginning right now. What will school look like for them? Will they have to learn things that we had to learn 20, 30 years ago, or will that be obsolete? So I'm just very fascinated by thinking, ahead. And I love playing with these types of new things and just seeing, for me, it's another form of a creative outlet. Seeing what I can do with AI, like it feels fun to me. Again, that could be very naive. Maybe I'm feeding it information that will allow it to take over our world. I don't know. At this stage, I'm trying to stay positive about it. There's a great book called Life 3.0, and the first chapter is kind of this uh, story of what a potential positive future with AI looks like. So if anyone is interested in seeing, because we've heard all the negative doomsday, scenarios, the positive view is actually really interesting to think about. And the way that I think of, I understand your aversion to wanting to listen, not wanting to listen to AI produced content or read another blog post that's clearly written by AI. I think that's fair. And I think that people can like tell the difference. What I advise my clients to do is with that in mind, information is now a commodity. Like you creating a course is not like we're still at the stage where like people are still buying courses, but right now you can really ask ChatGPT anything and be educated on anything anytime you want without, maybe you're spending 20 bucks a month for the pro version or not the pro, but the plus. And so information, if that's no longer something we're going to pay a lot of money for, I mean, I can get ChatGPT to create a custom course for me, right? Based on my specific astrology or human design. Like, why do I need to go learn from Jenna Kutcher or Amy Port, like all those people when I can get something custom designed for me? So I advise my clients like those types of things, like maybe focus less on right now and focus more on the human connection and creating community. AI will never take that from us. Not that I mean, I hope it never takes that from us because, like, you and I having this conversation, this is real, right? It would be very obvious if it was AI replicated in this day and age. Like, maybe in the future we won't be able to tell, but like the experience that I'm having as a person, the experience you're having as a person, as we're having this conversation, like, this is special. This is unique when we come together in community, when we share our stories, right? So, I advise meditation teachers, life coaches, healers, like focus on bringing that human aspect to your work, bringing people together, you being, holding space for other people. We will all want and crave more of that. The more of the rest of our lives become so automated and robotic and obviously AI driven. If you're not cultivating that in your business, I really encourage you to start thinking about what that could look like. Lou, you've got a mastermind, right? You teach live on Insight Timer. I'm sure you've got lots of other ideas. I've got a free group that I host a monthly call with. Those spaces, people will start to crave more. That's what my prediction is. We're already craving it, right? Americans are like the loneliest they've ever been in the last many decades. We want that connection, and I think that's where the opportunity lies. I would say focus less on worrying about, the content creation, course creation, things like that, and how are you bringing people together? And that I think is where business should focus, or probably will be forced to focus, because everything else we'll just be able to get from AI solutions.
What if I'm someone listening that's like averse to, "Oh, I don't want to have a group. Like I don't want to do that. Like I want to just write. I want to just create. I want to do I want to make passive income, right? I want to make a course that I can sell on the back end and I just want to create and have more time for creating new things and new products and new offer or new things that I'm not seeing people. I'm not like having to engage. Like what would you say to those people?
Well, one, I still think there's a runway left for us to continue doing that. I'm not saying it's over already. We can still create digital products and, have success with that. Um, the I would say continue to do your writing, continue to create in the way that feels the most genuine and authentic to you, and but pay attention to what's happening in this space and just notice like uh what's happening, because what you don't want to do is close your eyes, put your head in the sand and just pretend like it's not happening, then pop your head out one day and say, "Oh my God." Like, what? No, the whole world has changed, and you haven't really thought about how you might adapt. Um, this kind of like rapid evolution, I don't think we've ever seen anything like this before. Even in the Industrial Revolution, when new factories were being built, like it wasn't at this speed, right? I mean, this is in a year of, I don't know how long ChatGPT's been out, but like entire companies are shifting like their strategies and their workforce. And this adoption is happening faster than most people realize. And I mean, I don't know if you're familiar with the whole DeepSeek thing that happened. So the idea with these AI models like ChatGPT and Claude is they take a long time to train, or they took a long time to train, and they take a lot of resources like servers, energy, power, right, to run on a continual basis. in China, they built an AI model called DeepSeek, and they were able to do it at a fraction of the cost. And so that leap scared a bunch of people. The market went down that day. Like they didn't anticipate us getting to that point so fast. And so we're going to see a lot of that, right? And so we think about uh, what I'm saying today, who knows, in 6 months, this could be like completely obsolete as a conversation. So I would say for now, go for it. Keep doing what you're doing. I think we will always need artists. What that art looks like and how we produce art, I think could change. Um, so I would say keep doing it, but pay attention. I don't have a better answer than that because we don't know.
It's a great answer, and it is alarm. Yeah, I can't help but just being alarmed. Like, where is this going to go? How fast is it going to change? And trying to stay present with it all. I do think there is something in often we are, I mean, we've had the internet for a while, so you can always search things up. And if I think I've heard this on like a Tim Ferriss podcast that if information was everything, everyone would have six-pack abs or something like that. Meaning
Yeah.
like, yeah, you can ask questions and you can get the information, but without a structure, often it can become overwhelming. Without accountability, it can become overwhelming, which is sometimes the accountability of other people if you do have a group. And when you pay for something, that creates an accountability. Like if you are selling a course and you're paying a course $500 to do a course, your energy that you just said, I'm going to focus on this thing, right? Rather than ask ChatGPT, how do I do this? And there's just less like commitment. You can just, I don't feel like doing it anymore. And there's no skin in the game for you to continue. So there is still something with selling up packaging. Like we're all just repackaging things in some ways with our own spin. And how can we create a container that people, okay, I'm committing to this. I'm putting this. This is talking about more the products sense and like the courses sense, where there's still, I think, something in. I'd rather pay because I know how much that's going to focus me on something rather than have all the information. It's that Bo Burnham song, everything, everywhere, all of the time. Like there's just like too much overload. Um, and yeah, I think there's still room for that. And if you can mix it with a group sort of model, I think that's important too. Do you have any other thoughts? I know you've mentioned ones already of how like wellness teachers and guides can use this, whether it's blog posts, creative ideas, brainstorming. Is there any other ideas for us that we could use, or maybe how you're using it in different ways?
Yeah, like I'm certainly not an expert marketer, but I use AI in terms of helping me with writing website copy. I definitely use it for brainstorming a lot, right? Because I have I have a million and one ideas, but for really connecting what I think is valuable to what maybe my potential audience would think is valuable, is really great. In the workshop that we're going to do, we'll talk a little bit about how to get a better understanding of our audience, using AI where it has insights and data that we don't have, right? So things like what are my audience's biggest pain points? What are its biggest desires? Those types of things are really helpful. I would say there's so many tools like AI for video editing, AI for sound editing. I mean, there's going to be AI for everything. So if you think about all the different components of our business, from content production to marketing to analytics, right? Looking at your website analytics and giving you insights that you may not have come up with on your own. There's just and what I love about AI is that if you don't know how to use AI, ask AI. And So I'll give you an example. I was trying out Claude for the first time a few weeks ago because I'd always been a ChatGPT person. Claude is another uh, model, and people have been saying it's much better for writing. So where ChatGPT is kind of a jack of all trades, and it's really good in my opinion at strategy. When I ask it to write something, for whatever reason, maybe I'm not prompting it correctly, or I'm not giving it enough context, or it doesn't know the style of my voice as well. It just doesn't sound that good. It's very kind of simple. When I give it to Claude, it's much better. So Claude has something called projects, and you can give it custom instructions, and we'll get into more of this when we do the workshop. But what I did was like, I don't know how to write the custom instructions for this project. I'm like, Claude, can you write the custom instructions for you? And I told it what I was looking to do, and it wrote this long list of custom instructions that I would not have come up with like 10% of that stuff. And I made some tweaks and I'm like, change this, add that, remove this. And then I put that into the project, and now I have it like working on certain things for me, and it's so good. It's so good. So just like anything that I'm like, I'm okay at, but I'd like it to be better. Um, I'll use AI for that. And I love teaching people how to do that. So that where I feel like I'm best is showing up one-on-one, showing up in groups. And so if I can use AI to um, create avenues for people to find me, or kind of give them a glimpse of what it's like to work with me, and then bring them into my world, that's powerful, right? Because then I have an opportunity to grow the group or grow my one-on-one work. And that I think is what all of us are ultimately doing, is one, trying to get found, two, make sure that we're providing offers and services that people actually want. And then three, doing it in a way that is like not draining, where we get to spend our time and energy on stuff that's fun for us, and like not do the stuff, not spend as much time on the stuff that's draining for us. So that's how I think of it. And going back to your point about like, well, if I can go get this information somewhere, um, maybe people won't want to pay for it, or maybe they'll only pay for it to have that sense of accountability. I would also add that like if you want to learn something, you have to know what questions to ask, right? Like if you go and ask ChatGPT, how do I get healthy? It's going to give you a very generic answer. But if you were to find a training program that, like in my case, for, moms in their 40s who, eat a certain diet, and this guy has a six module plan that like walks me through all these steps, and he has the structure figured out, I don't need to know what to ask. That is going to give it to me in a very clear structure. Whereas versus if I had ChatGPT, I'd be like, I don't know where to begin. I don't what I want to get healthy. Like, I don't know, you know what I mean? So I think there's still value in creating courses or offers like that, or programs. As long as you're providing that kind of structure and format that people wouldn't know to go and look for, but when they see it, they're like, yes, that's what I need.
I know I probably sound like I'm somewhat I'm trying to play the devil's advocate here of like, oh, there's like the fear and because like I have some of those, but also I have found value in it, and I have to admit that naming my mastermind Meraki Mastermind came from trying to brainstorm with ChatGPT, because I've been doing a coaching training called Aletheia, which in Greek is meaning truth. And I kind of like that. And I was like, I wonder, is there any Greek words? Like, what are Greek words that mean like working with love? And like, I wrote it down, and then Meraki was just like, boom, like this is exactly the meaning. And I don't know if I would have found it elsewhere. So it's been the pride and joy of my last year. And yeah, it came through ChatGPT's assistance in finding that name. So yeah, it's always, and that's what scares about it. It's like whenever I do use it, it's like, oh man, this is so good. Like it works so it works so well. Where it's like, it's like a drug in some ways. Like, oh, oh, you shouldn't really do it, but then you do it, and it's like, oh, it's actually really good. Like, oh, now I got more of it. So it's, I don't know. That's where my mind goes. But
Well,
you mentioned.
one thing that I like to, offer to people is when we think about companies, right? As a solopreneur, we have a company, but if it's just us, it's just us, right? Other companies that have, like, maybe they're small, medium, large companies, they have multiple people in the company, and each person has their own role and they're responsible for doing certain things. If you're a solopreneur and you're doing everything, you could think of AI as being different team members in your company, right? So with Claude projects or with custom GPTs, you can set up different roles, different assistants to help you with different things. So you might have a newsletter writing assistant, you might have an Instagram assistant, you could have a LinkedIn assistant. Each one of those assistants is trained specifically for their job. And then you kind of have a team of AI agents that are, part of your company. And so that's another way to kind of think about it. Like, all these companies who have a CEO making all this money, they're not doing all the work, right? They have hired skilled individuals to be in those roles to serve those functions, and all those functions work together. You, as the CEO of your company, you can put, AI agents in those roles, make sure the AI agents are working together to support your company's growth. So I think if you think of it like that, that also helps, like you versus, the big bad corporations. Why shouldn't you have access to the same types of powerful resources that they have access to? So just want to offer that if that resonates for anyone.
As someone who started a business in with virtual assistants, I'm curious, what are your thoughts around the use of virtual assistants now with AI? It could replace maybe obviously an assistant, but I'm curious how you're thinking about actual like human virtual assistants nowadays.
Yeah, I think there's still a good, strong market for that. And the reason is there are a lot of people that don't want to figure out AI yet. They don't want to do anything related to the technology. It's more, hey, VA, I need to do these things. Can you update my Kajabi? Can you, here's the draft of the newsletter. Can you set it up in Kit or Flowdesk? Can you respond to my emails with, as a customer service representative? A lot of that you can set AI up to do for you or will be able to in the future. But there are so many people that don't want to get into the tools and get into the software. And so having a VA, you can offload that. And the VAs that we train in aligned virtual teams, they're AI savvy, so they can do that on your behalf. And so for now, I think that we'll still need VAs to do a lot of things for us. Um, but who knows, like I said, whether that changes in a year, 3, 5, 10 years, who knows? But for now, I think it's, we still need them.
You've spoken to different uses of Claude and ChatGPT, and so maybe just any other AI tools and how you use them, or how someone might like approach a Claude versus a ChatGPT. You mentioned it being more of like the style that they can use versus maybe brainstorming. So anything else you want to say about that? And then any other tools that people should be thinking about, whether it's language learning models or other aspects.
Yeah, I mean, ChatGPT has a number of different models you can use. Claude has different models. They're always adding new ones, testing new ones. They have different functions. So I would say think about your use cases. Um, I've done like an A/B test where I'll put the same exact prompt in both and just see which one I like. If you do that a few times, you'll start to notice, oh, one is better at these types of things and the other is better at these. The plus versions of each of those is $20 a month. So for me, it's obviously worth it to have both powerhouses, right? One's really great at some things, the other's good at others. $40 a month is a great, deal for me on that. So I would say either test them out and pick one that you like more than the other, or use both and just know what you use each of them for. As for other tools, Descript is a great video editing tool. So like we're recording this podcast on video. If you were to drop it into Descript, it would make editing super easy because it could go and find all the blank spaces. It'll automatically transcribe everything so you can edit based on the transcription. There's lots of tools like that. There are AI tools for taking like a long form video like this podcast that we're doing and cutting it up into short form videos that you can turn into Instagram Reels or TikToks. Um, there are obviously transcription services. So you can upload your video and boom, you get a transcript. I love Loom for that. Loom, if you upload a video, it will, especially if you've got a larger team, so I do this with Jonah, my co-founder at Align Virtual Teams. If I need to show her how to do something, I'll record a Loom and it will automatically outline all the steps that I walked her through and say what point in the video that is. So for training people, it's excellent. Other AI tools, of course, there's all the image generation stuff. I haven't really gotten into that, but I know a lot of people will create images for their blog posts or for their meditation covers or things like that. And then Canva is a tool I know a lot of us use for our Instagram posts and other image generation. They are introducing new AI features all the time. It's really cool what you can do. And I think we tend to think of AI as maybe just that prompt and response type software like ChatGPT or Claude, but AI is actually built into so many other pieces of software. CRMs or customer relationship management tools have AI now built into them that will, analyze trends in your customer engagement. Email tools are adding AI features, like it'll help edit your emails or come up with subject lines. So just start to pay attention to the software that you're already using. Are they introducing AI features? And you're probably already using some of them without even realizing it. So
Yeah, I like Opus Pro for videos. I find whenever I put like a video and it chops up like a YouTube or a podcast, like if we were to put this in there and it gives like a bunch of, like kind of rates them as far as, a hook or what would get it. So there's so much out there, and yeah, learning, finding your own rhythm and not feeling like you need to go overboard. And like you, like I haven't really dabbled with the images just because I don't know, I don't use many images anywhere, and my meditations I just typically just use my face because I'm an Enneagram 3 and I like attention. Um and, and so it makes it easy. But yeah, curious if there, where do you want to take this from here? If there's any thoughts around AI, whether it's maybe some practical steps for people to try out if they want to start experimenting on their own. I know we have a workshop coming up that's going to really give a lot of like how-tos and uh, giving people the right prompts and how to set up maybe the assistants, which I'm personally so excited for. Like yeah, but anywhere if people want to just start experimenting, like right now, like where would you send them to?
yeah, I would suggest testing out the free versions of ChatGPT and Claude just to start getting familiar with what it's like to, be in a prompt and response mode with something like that. You might be surprised if this is your first time kind of dabbling in the field of AI, you might be surprised at how high quality some of the responses are, or you might find that, maybe it's not as impressive as you expected it would be. Another great place to start is YouTube. And just if you're curious about like AI for video editing or AI for um, poetry, or, there's a what is it? There's a software that I was playing with, and I can't remember the name now. But it was AI for writers. So you can put in just an idea and it will come up with the entire plot line. It will come up with characters for you. I mean, you can use different, like the hero's journey or there's different plot structures you can use, and you can write an entire book. And to me, I know you mentioned that like all these books on Amazon it's getting flooded with AI written books. I have my opinions on that, but for me, it was just so fun. Like, I'm not gonna write a novel to publish, but like it was fun to play around with like characters and plot structure. So, you can take it two different approaches. You can say, okay, I want to figure out how to use this for business, or you can say, I don't know, what would be fun to like do that I feel like I maybe wasn't as skilled in, and could AI help me do something like that just to start, experimenting. I think that would be a really fun place to start.
Something's connecting for me, and I don't know if it's accurate, but have you listened or watched or read, read, watched the book? Have you read the book, The E-Myth, uh,
Yes.
Revisit?
Yeah.
You know how he talks about like creator or manager, entrepreneur or
Yes.
taskmaster, what it is. And it seems to me like people who really thrive on AI? Because it seems like you're managing. Like that's what you're having to do. You're kind of like, you do this, you do this. I'm going to tell you to do this. I'm going to say this. And I find I actually like managing the least. Do you feel like that's accurate? Like, because it feels like there's more you're more in the managerial role because you're working with again AI assistants and having to like prompt them. And I'm just curious. Obviously, the task person and the example I use in that book is like a pie maker. Obviously, you're not you want to just be doing the pies. Like that's your genius. That's your gifts. And I'm curious what the entrepreneur what that hat would be with AI. Am I making sense? Like I'm trying to make this
Totally.
connection where like I think
Yes.
it's more manager, and I think that's probably why I don't. It's like I often just take the first answer it gives me. It's like I don't have time to just keep going back and forth with this thing. Like that's
Yeah.
it's not it's external versus inner creative, and that's where like I'm more liking being in the inner creative versus the external. Maybe that's a human design thing. I don't know, but that's just kind of more resident with me. So yeah, just curious how you would think of if we use that analogy for them, the book of like what's the entrepreneur use of it.
I love that. I totally didn't put that together, but yes, the creator is the pie baker, right? She loves baking the pies. She's not a good manager and she's not a good entrepreneur yet. You're right. I function really well in the manager role. And so I'm not like I have fun creating, but that's not the thing that I'm great at. And so for me to write an email, it's like, yeah, I could. But if I dropped in a bunch of bullet points and had, ChatGPT write the email, it was going to be so much better, but you're going to get a sense of what I'm trying to say. So as the manager, yes, that's the people who are using Claude and ChatGPT and all these other AI tools, you're probably more in that role. My husband is the same way. Like he, knows what he wants to get done, but he doesn't want to be the one to do it all. So like he loves using it the same way. The entrepreneur is the one who is thinking of how can I use AI to build something entirely new or like to change the strategy and trajectory of my business. So the entrepreneur might be like looking at your I don't know, might be looking to say, how can I create software that will generate custom meditations for individuals given, they plug in their demographics. Like I'm a male, I'm age this, I'm struggling with stress at work, and I like, visualization meditations and mindfulness meditations, and that generates like that the entrepreneur is thinking like one level up, right? Like how do I turn this into something much more scalable? And so most of the clients that I work with, they're not at the stage where they're really thinking about scaling yet. But the entrepreneurs, the people that have that kind of mindset, like nascent in them, ready to come out, like that's how I imagine they would be thinking about AI in their space is how do I, supercharge this world with AI? And people are doing it. They're already doing it. Just not my clients, not yet.
For sure. I feel like I'm definitely more in the creator, but also like to fantasize of being in the entrepreneur or like I can those two poles feel more exciting and interesting to me than the middle manager. But it makes sense you as a project manager that you would be shining in
Yeah.
that
I don't do the
in that
work. I
role.
make sure everybody else does the work.
Um, awesome, Bindi. Well, maybe let's speak to if people are interested listening to this and are wanting to dive a little deeper and have some more practical tools. We have a workshop that is open to the public. It's gonna be on February 25th at now I'm on Pacific time now, so it's like I get to be early when these like night things. It's amazing. So it's gonna be 4:30 p.m. PST, 7:30 EST. Bindi, do you want to share more about what we're gonna be doing in that workshop?
Yeah, so I really want this workshop to be very practical, very hands-on. Ideally, you're coming into the workshop with some information about your business and what you're trying to do, who you're trying to serve. And together, I'll show you how you can customize either ChatGPT or Claude to understand your business goals, to understand the style of your voice, to understand your ideal audience, or help you figure out who your ideal audience is if you don't quite know yet. And then we'll talk about all the different ways that you can use these tools to support your business, whether that's content creation, brainstorming new offers, refining, your meditation scripts or whatever. The reason I'm excited it's a live workshop is that people can come in with like their specific questions and we can talk through that. But I'll be sharing my screen. I'll be showing you how I prompt. And then we'll include a PDF that will include a bunch of prompts for all different scenarios. Some of the favorite things that I like to do is tailor my strategies, my approach, the way that I work by incorporating my human design or my astrology or my gene keys. I actually was chatting with ChatGPT yesterday, and I am a manifesting generator, but some of my channels are actually projected channels or projector type energy channels. And so I was thinking about there are some areas where like when I respond to something and I get excited, I'm just go, go, go. And there's other things like me in leadership roles. It's best when I wait for the invitation. And so I was just having this conversation about like, okay, well, how can you use ChatGPT or Claude to help you understand these aspects of your working style and then incorporate them into your business? So we'll just be talking about all these different types of things. I think this workshop is going to be great for you if you've maybe dabbled a little bit, or maybe you're brand new to it and you really just want to see what it looks like when you can customize and tailor the responses to who you are and what your work is, and just see the power of it, and then come away with a bunch of prompts that you can take and start to use and hopefully help your business grow.
I'm excited for it. I'm excited to learn from it too, and to highlight you with both of our communities. Obviously, to be invited to it and to yeah, make it super practical, tactical, and yeah, for those that are interested, we'll have a link in the description with the information. To sign up, it should probably be 2 weeks from when this podcast releases. So hopefully, there's enough time and we'll hopefully see you there if you're wanting to learn a little bit more about bringing this into your work.
Yeah, I'm excited. I think these types of workshops are so fun for me to do, especially when they're live. So come with your questions and we'll get a lot out of it, I think.
And if you're listening to this and you're also, Bindi has been a previous guest in my mastermind, but she'll also be coming the next day to the mastermind. So you'll get a little kind of VIP action with Bindi the following day after the workshop. So just a little plug for those that are interested in maybe digging deeper into mastermind at some point. But it's going to be cool to have a public workshop with Bindi and then more of an intimate experience the next day. So for you, though, I'll hopefully see you on the 25th. And yeah, Benny, this is super fun. Always a joy to treat to have these conversations with you.
Same. Thank you so much.
All right, friends. See you soon.